everyone, how's it going? So, big episode tonight for House of the Dragon. Based off of episode 3's ending, I kind of expected them to go in this direction here for episode 4, and wow, a really incredible episode. I think this might be the best episode so far in this season, maybe of the series so far, because I know a lot of people are complaining about the fact that there's not a lot of action and whatnot in House of the Dragon. It's a lot of just stuff that just kind of seems boring. I personally am really enjoying it a lot. I don't really view it like that, but this episode for sure, I would say is my favorite one of the season so far. So make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my House of the Dragon content. I am going to be doing a video breaking down the trailer for next week's episode, so stay tuned for that. That should be out right away. So season 2 episode 4, titled The Dance of Dragons, was a really incredible episode, and I think definitely deserving of the name. And the episode was directed by Alan Taylor, actually, and yeah, obviously he directed episodes like Baelor, really amazing episode, The North Remembers, and Beyond the Wall, I believe was an episode that he did. But yeah, this episode here, really big episode for Rhaenys Targaryen. Targaryen battles with dragons, I'm telling you. It's something that really makes this series unique, because in Game of Thrones, we didn't get a lot of stuff like this. And some of the footage here, some of the battling in general, it's just, it really shows why Targaryens just ruled everything, because they had dragons. And you see Sir Criston Cole with all of his forces and whatnot, and they're all fighting, but like none of it mattered. You saw at the very end that everything was basically ash, and there's no fighting that. Like, the Targaryens are just, they're a very special house, obviously, in Westeros. Like, they have so much power, it's ridiculous. And we saw that in this episode here. This episode was a big Rhaenys Targaryen episode, and I just kind of sensed it. I knew that this happened in the books, and I was just like, are they going to go in this direction? Episode 3 did show a scene between her and Corlys, so I was like, I think they could be hinting at that, just because it was a sentimental moment. So that's why I was like, is this foreshadowing a moment coming very soon? Because that does happen in the books. And the reason why I question these things is because obviously they will make changes here and there, right? Like, they'll change character moments, this and that, just to serve like this moment. And King Aegon, actually, you know, the fact that he didn't go originally, I was like, wait, are they going to save him from what happened in this episode? Which we'll talk about in a second here. But yeah, just in terms of, you know, Rhaenys Targaryen, that battle was absolutely incredible. And I was wanting to see how they were going to be doing dragon battles in the show. They did this really phenomenally. I was honestly blown away entirely by the final sequence. I think the final sequence, just all the build up from both sides, and we'll talk about that in a second. I just really want to focus on the ending and sort of what happened there, which I know was kind of backwards, but the battle montages I felt like were really amazing. And Rhaenys is really, like, she's a hero. She's an incredible character, and you really do see that at the end here. You know, she could have left so many times, but she kept going back because she was just like, no, we need to end this. Like, we need to end this and win and make sure I'm not going to leave just because, you know, I can. I'm on a dragon. I can fly away and I'll be safe. But no, she was like, I just, you know, she knew it was her time. There was a certain moment in the battle where I think she was like, no, like, I know this is my time, and she wanted to take everyone out. You know, Vhagar appeared out of nowhere. That right there, I'll talk about it near the end of the video as well. Prince Aemon Targaryen is an incredible fighter, and honestly one of the scariest people on this show. So in terms of what happened in the books, honestly everything played out the same. Sir Criston Cole, you know, he set up this whole attack at Rook's Rest after he just took out Duskendale and all of that. We did actually hear House Stanton. We heard that mentioned here in this episode, and Duskendale they just took out. You sort of heard references to that in this episode, and then eventually they went to Rook's Rest here, and everyone found out, and it felt pretty fast. Obviously, like in the books it felt pretty fast to Aegon II. House Stanton needed Rhaenyra's help, and that's where Rhaenys comes into the picture here. And so Sir Criston Cole had this whole plan worked out where, you know, if Rhaenys showed up or whoever would show up on the dragon, well, we're going to have our own dragons. And this might have changed up a little bit in the books, because I believe that King Aegon was already there. Prince Aemon as well. Like, they kind of all knew that they were there, but they were hiding. And so obviously they were there with Sunfire and Vhagar, and Rhaenys shows up with her dragon, Malice, and the same thing pretty much happens. Aegon gets wounded really, really badly. Rhaenys or Rhaenys does die here, and I thought they actually told the story pretty well. There's really no changes that I could think of off the top of my head. So yeah, really Amazing moment there. But a lot of the build up to this throughout the episode here, obviously, there is quite a bit of foreshadowing here. There is a couple of storylines here that, you know, I'll focus on one that was sort of an extra bit here that I think will play a role in future episodes, and that's with Damon and Harrenhal. But in terms of what happened with Dragonstone, Baela, she calls Rhaenys to Dragonstone, and then Baela tells Dragonstone's council that, yeah, Sir Criston Cole is going to take Rook's rest over, and then Rhaenyra shows up at some point in the episode and learns of all of this, and then, you know, she's like, well, I'm going to go out there with my dragon. And then there's a bunch of fighting because her son doesn't want her to go. Rhaenys is like, you know what? Malice is their strongest dragon, so I'm going to go. And Rhaenyra doesn't really have, you know, like, I think she trusts her at that point. I think she's just like, well, you're probably a better fighter than I am, so yeah, I guess, you know, that'll work. And there's also this build up where, you know, I think with the music in the episode built up the final battle where Rhaenyra is telling her son Jace about the prince that was promised. Obviously, the story that Aegon the Conqueror, well, I guess he had a dream, and he called it the Song of Ice and Fire. And I really like a lot of these mentions here because it's just extra build-up for Game of Thrones, for Jon Snow's big moment, right? Even though, yes, there's still like, that still bothers me, the fact that he wasn't the one to kill the Night King and just the way they did certain things, that really does bother me a lot because there was a way that you could have united everyone there. Like, you really could have. But anyways, different show that happened a long time ago. Let's focus on this one. Another storyline here was with Alicent and Aegon and what was happening at King's Landing, you know, before the battle. And Alicent still feels unsure about Viserys, you know, I guess just what he meant in terms of Aegon being the king, but it seemed like Rhaenyra got to her a little bit in this episode, but I think in terms of how much that family is ingrained in King's Landing and just all of the mess now, it doesn't really matter at this point, right? Like, everything has now been set in motion. You can't really remove people from certain places of power. Like, it's too much now. Like, what's happened has happened. This is going to war. Like, there's no stopping this right now. And Prince Aemond actually, you know, this episode, just by his looks and his demeanor in certain scenes, like, I really feel like he would make an awesome king. He really would. And I get why, you know, later on with the battle above God's Eye, why it makes sense to have Aemon and Damon as well, because they're very similar characters, very cool characters. I really can't wait. Like, I know it's going to be a while before we see that, but I really cannot wait for that. But Aegon's getting bored. You know, he's getting really bored being just the king that has to really just listen, you know. And it's funny because Alicent has a line in here where she mentions, you know, just try to be, you know, half the man that your father was, or something like that. Aegon didn't like that. But then Alicent was like, well, what are you going to do? Right? Like you can't do nothing here. And Aegon, he felt that. He was just like, yeah, I really can't do anything here. And I think this is obviously, like, we've been seeing this build for the last couple of episodes here. He's bored. He doesn't like doing this king stuff here. And yes, he has to be the king, but he doesn't really want to be the king. And if he's going to be the king, maybe he can be like King Aegon the Conqueror, right? And so he wants to be the king that he wants to be. And so he takes off on a dragon. And all this built up throughout the episode. You had two big storylines going on. And then finally, they all converge into one moment where, yeah, you see Aemond and Vhagar hiding, cleverly hiding there. And Sir Criston Cole knew all about this. Rhaenys has no idea any of this is happening. They also have no idea that Aegon is on the way as well. So that was that's what I mean. That moment there, I don't know if they made that change from the book to keep him back and then he shows up afterwards. I kind of like the change if it was a change at all, like on the show, because King Aegon obviously stayed back because he was told to. But just because of who he wants to be as a king, it just adds more character development there, right? Like, he went out and he's like, I'm going to be the king I want to be. Like, I'm going to go and do this here. And he's just not great at fighting, you know, in the same way his brother Aemond is. And that's definitely something that, you know, I think he hates. But as soon as Sir Criston Cole, you know, recognized that Aegon II is here, like, it just completely escalated the war. It was just like a whatever fight. There was dragons, this and that. But as soon as the king was involved, it was like, okay, no, like, we have to go all out and fight. We can't just stand here, right? I think the Rhaenys versus Aegon II fight, that was absolutely incredible. And Aegon II just got completely destroyed. He couldn't really do anything. He didn't really know how to fight on a dragon. He has no experience compared to Rhaenys, right? And she was just owning him. And Aemon actually came into the scene and sort of, you know, backstabbed her, basically caught her off guard. You have to do what you have to do to win battles, right? So you're going to do things like that. You're going to have surprise attacks. It's literally Aemon style. He does stuff like that a lot, right? And he kind of used his brother as bait. Like, he wanted to burn all of them, but he basically burnt his brother and his dragon Sunfire, like, literally right in front of him. Like, he was aware of it too, but he just went and did that, and yeah, severely wounded his brother and dragon. Rhaenys could have fled at this moment, and she was actually going back, but then she turned around, and I wrote down in my notes, she's a hero, because after that, that's where things got really intense. All the battle montages and everything, and Rhaenys just knew it was her time. And as the battle went on, she wanted to make sure everyone got out. And then Vhagar shows up, and again, another surprise attack here. And this is where Aemond is actually successful. Aemond and Vhagar, they kill Meleys pretty much immediately, and then Rhaenyra falls to her death. And it was a really incredible death sequence. Just incredible. The slow motion and everything, like, just amazing. And again, at the end, you see Prince Aemond, and you're just like, even if you're on like House Black, you can't look at that and think, oh, he's so evil and whatnot. Like, yes, I guess maybe you do view it like that, but he's an incredible fighter. He is someone that, Rhaenyra really does have to fear, because he can do a lot. But Sir Criston Cole wakes up from all of this. Everything is in ash, like I was saying before, finds Aemond, and Aemond obviously knows where his brother is. And then we see the king severely injured and or dead. I wrote that down here because I don't actually know. As of now, I have not watched the trailer for episode 5. So I'll do that, and maybe they confirm it there. Maybe there's literally lines in the trailer where it says, oh, our king severely injured, this and that. So then, yeah, maybe he's not dead. But like literally when you see the scene, it just looks like maybe he's dead. I thought maybe I saw him moving. Maybe he does. I don't know. But just insane. Like, this is going to be crazy for the rest of the season, just how they're going to handle all of this. I can't wait to see where this is going to go here. And that's where they left the episode. It was just on a really crazy dark note. I can't wait for everyone's reactions in the next week's episode, because this is like, it affected main characters. Like, to have Rhaenys die, it was a really big deal. Rhaenyra is going to really feel that. Corlys, oh man, his reaction is going to be insane. And then you also go back to King's Landing and Alicent having her son either, I don't think he's dead, but just severely, injured. Like, just the whole thing there. Like, I really cannot wait to see what's going to happen here, because it's war, you're going to be losing a lot of people. And I think they're starting to see that right now. Like, this right here, and I know technically you could have been saying that, like, oh, well, Blood and Cheese or the moment before with Aemond, that technically is what started the war. And there's been moments here and there, but no, this battle right here was like the first real battle, I would say. And it's the Battle of Rook's Rest, right? And again, really incredible episode. The episode was called A Dance of Dragons. It definitely really works. Also, I do have a note here at the very end in which I do kind of mention, talking about the young Rhaenyra flashback. It's cool that they find ways to bring her back, because I know there's a lot of fans of young Rhaenyra, right? Damon's in Harrenhal, and with this story, obviously it's sort of set up for the future right now, which is kind of frustrating as well if you're a Damon fan, because you do want to see him do more things. And he's been having a hard time sleeping, or I guess just relaxing in Harrenhal. There's always someone walking around. He has to have his sword ready. He actually follows someone that I think looked like Aemond, but also kind of looked like Damon as well. Like, Damon and Aemond's fates were like combined. I don't really know what that scene meant, but it was very, very interesting. But then he talks to Alice, actually, and obviously we learned that Alice, she can see the future. And in a previous episode mentioned, that he's going to die here, which definitely was like a reference to the Battle above God's Eye, right? Which happens like right around Harrenhal. So, just incredible. I still don't know what they're going to do there, but that's a video for another time. I'm like, can you really kill off Damon? There is some history as to whether or not he did actually die, though. So maybe they play with that a little bit. I have no idea, but he doesn't trust Alice, but he does take that drink or whatever. And then eventually he's at the table, during a council meeting, I guess, and just with the council. And then we meet Sir Willem Blackwood, and I was a little confused because I thought he was a kid, but I guess time has passed. He's just much older now, but he meets with the rest of the council. And again, a lot of this story is just set for the future. The big moment of this episode, obviously, what was Rhaenys' death and the Battle of Rook's Rest, which to me is up there in Game of Thrones battles. Like, it definitely is. The dragon fight was incredible, and because they did it right, like the dragon stuff in season 1, it was really cool, but there was a lot of clouds and stuff, and so it hid a lot of the fighting, and that was what I wanted, to have change in season 2. So I want to see actual fighting where it just makes sense, and you can see sort of the fighting tactics between the dragons, and how each rider of the dragon is actually, using the dragon to fight. I think that was something that they did really well in this episode. You could tell the skill level of everyone, right? And also the skill level of each dragon, right? Just which one is stronger. So really incredible scene. I thought that all of this here was just absolutely, just the episode was really amazing. So definitely the best one so far this season. I would say maybe the best one of all of season 1 so far, but I would have to think about that. But I'm going to leave it here. So make sure to post all your thoughts down below on tonight's episode of House of the Dragon. And what are your predictions for episode 5? Where do you see them going next? And I don't remember now. Are there 8 episodes of the season or 9? I think there was 9, right? Because last year there was 10. And I believe in this season there's 9. I don't know why they took an episode away. I don't know if it was a budget reason. I'm not entirely sure. But I hope that for next year that they actually go back to 10 episodes, because I feel like a series like this deserves it. Like every season of Game of Thrones should have had 10 episodes. Like all the complaints everyone had from season 7 and 8, even a little bit in season 6. Well, I guess that was mostly season 7 and 8 that had like the lesser amount of episodes. Having more episodes would have solved that. It was really that simple. But anyways, post all your thoughts down below. Make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get more House of the Dragon content, because I will be covering this show a lot this week as we build to the finale here, which I think is going to be a really, really amazing finale. I do expect Rhaenyra to take over King's Landing. I think we are going in that direction, but we'll have to wait and see. So yeah, I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.